Whew. So the long-standing battle between Minister of Finance, Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan, and then of course the President as well, and the Public Protector, has now kind of worked its way back into the ANC and the factions, right? And with the NEC meeting that took place over this weekend, we don't know what really was discussed, and we don't know what's going to come out of it. But we did see President Cyril Ramaphosa coming out there shaking hands with Jacob Zuma for PR purposes, I'm assuming, because, I mean, who else would just be waiting to take that picture? And then we've got a Derek Hanekom now on the sidelines, who looks like he may be, or may have been, the main show of the weekend. What are your thoughts on this matter?
I mean, the Derek Hanekom issue is going to be fascinating to watch. Derek Hanekom is an important politician in the ANC. He's a was a long-standing minister. He's a cadre. He's somebody who's reputable, and he had, even over the weekend, we saw that open letter that came from veterans of the ANC supporting him. So for him to admit that he went and had talks with the ANC, with the EFF, and the ANC was unaware of that, is dicey. Because if you say, okay, no, that was fine, you're basically saying every MP can just break line with caucus, go and have private meetings with the opposition, and it's all fine, you know?
But the EFF is saying not only was it him now, they've got 40 other MPs that they think they can reveal as time goes on.
And we knew they were people, because already by the time we get to that last motion of confidence, members of the Tripartite Alliance, certainly members from the Gauteng leadership of the ANC, had made it quite clear that they believe the party should step down. In fact, the matter went all the way to the Concord to get a secret ballot to ensure ANC members could vote with their conscience.
Absolutely, and where the ANC MPs got it wrong is where the SACP got it right. Is the SACP went there all together with their chairs. They gave Solly a mandate to go and speak to the EFF. And I think that that's what you do. You have a political caucus that says, okay guys, this is what we're going to do. We are, we want to vote this way, and we are going to vote with the opposition. That way you're playing open cards. You're not being shady, you're not doing anything under the carpet, because if you do that, your own party can say to you, you're now transgressing our rules, you're colluding with the enemy, as it were. So it was about the transparency more than anything else.
And so then that revelation, my question after the break will be, does this lessen then the transgression in your eyes that Derek Hanekom made? If you've got 40 other people who did the same thing. So hold that thought. Because we're going to mull over it. Let us know what your thoughts are in the meantime at home. Tweet us at 405 Mornings. Don't forget the hashtag Breaking Dawn on 405. When we come back, Tessa will still be with us and we'll conclude this discussion.
Up today in politics, joined in studio by social and political commentator Tessa Dooms, speaking about the ANC and the ANC-NEC meeting, from which we're still waiting a statement, right? We still haven't received a statement from them.
Yes. So now, I guess the statements that the EFF made yesterday, will they change anything that was discussed over the weekend, in your opinion? In other words, if they were going to act against Derek after what was said yesterday, do you think they're more likely to act or less likely?
Nah, I think the ANC is going to have to make a decision about Derek based on what they think is good for the caucus and what they think the precedent will be that they're setting for the caucus. I think the EFF, the fact that the EFF have had the power to dictate an agenda item for the ANC is already a problem for the ANC. But I think if the ANC takes their beaten drum entirely from the EFF in terms of what they do with Derek, they'll really look incredibly weak. So they need to come out strong and say, we've made a decision based on what's good for the caucus, what's good for our internal democracy, and to ensure that even if our MPs don't agree, that they have a recourse within the party and that they can make their voices known within the party and we can find consensus together. But they have to come out strong and say, we as the party allow dissident voices. We are able to deal with them and address them, and we're not going to find ourselves in this position ever again because we are taking action of a particular kind. I don't think it's going to be as hard, sharp, decisive action, but they're definitely going to have to say something that at least guides the way they deal with this in future.
Thank you very much for joining us. Tessa Dooms, a good friend of the shows, and that wraps up Today in Politics. We have another discussion that we're going to get into immediately after this.
So staying with the story, the EFF has threatened, or at least has said, they have 40 more names of ANC MPs who voted with the opposition to oust former President Zuma in 2017 in a vote of no confidence, which, if you may remember, was going to be done by secret ballot.
Absolutely, Googs. And so to help us get to a nub of this discussion even further, right, we're joined by political analyst, Prince Mashele. Welcome to the show. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and thanks for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. So I guess the question is, the broad question, is this good for our democracy?
No, it's actually bad for our democracy.
Okay.
If the EFF were to do what they threaten they want to do, it would mean that in moments of great national crises, there would be no conference between members of parliament to save the country from trouble. That would be very bad, and actually it would be dishonorable on the part of the EFF, because under normal circumstances in a democracy, when a nation is facing a crisis, honorable members of parliament should be able to cross the aisle and ask the question, how do we together save our country? So if the EFF were to do what they threaten to do, it means that members of parliament would be very scared of conferring with each other confidentially.
So now let's just step back a little bit. If I were to say, as a citizen of the country, that I'm actually not bothered about the internal politics of each party that represents us in parliament, be it the EFF, the DA, the ANC, Freedom Front Plus, whatever it is, right? What I do worry about, though, is the well-being of the country as a whole. And so if we feel like a president of a country, forget president of a party, should be removed, then everybody in parliament should be free to discuss that, which is, I think, the point you're trying to make, right? So if I were to feel that way, then what would your thoughts be?
Exactly, that's the point. If I am a citizen, I need to have the comfort that when my country is burning, representatives of political parties will forget the color of T-shirts they are wearing, would come together to save me as a citizen and my country. So when I hear that some of the parliamentarians who represent my country and me want to disclose confidences relating to how to save me as a citizen, I would get very worried. And that in future, if they do what they want to do, that is the EFF, my country, when it is in trouble, parliamentarians will not be able to meet in a room across the aisle to discuss the question of saving me as a citizen.
The problem now that we're faced with is that that's not how the country works. In fact, even within the ANC's constitution, it is actually forbidden to go out there and associate with opposition parties, right? So that's seen as a form of treason against the party. So how do you then deal with that when it's actually written, it's right there in black and white that they shouldn't do that?
Well, as a citizen, I should be concerned about what the country's constitution says. It is absolutely not treasonous, according to the South African constitution, for parliamentarians from across the aisle to confer with each other. Let me give you an example. We have had cases in South Africa where leaders of the opposition have been appointed by the ruling party to be ambassadors of our country, such as Tony Leon, viewers will remember. So it's not treasonous for a ruling party to appoint a leader of the opposition to represent South Africa. Remember, opposition members in parliament are South Africans, and we presume and assume correctly under the constitution that they are patriots. So what the constitutions of parties say is not primary. What is primary is what the South African constitution, the constitution of our republic, says. It does not preclude parliamentarians to confer with each other in the best interest of South Africa as a country.
Prince, we're going to have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for your time this morning. That's political analyst Prince Mashele.